in the card community, especially in the past year. There's been the saying, Prism is king, right?
Yep.
But being a high volume breaker as yourself, because me personally, I mean, I've had a lot of bad experiences with Prism this year, especially in Prism mega boxes. Like, oh my god! If for those who don't know, Prism mega box is a 50 card box, and I swear to God, there's this one box. Every last two cards was so badly printed. Oh my goodness.
Inserts are so bad.
Inserts and even the base cards and even the rookie cards, like it's just, and like especially with the start when it just released. I think whose picture was that? I think it was Zion's picture. Zion's picture in Prism this year is the same as his Mosaic rookie
Yeah. Correct.
last year.
Yep.
The Curry of the Prism this year is the same as, I think it's the Select of last year. I think I got that wrong, but I know it's the same from somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, how about you, CK? What are your thoughts on this year's Prism? Like, is it still king?
Um,
Yeah.
I think you're right that there's a lot of QC issues with Prism this year. A lot of it has to do with cards being OC, a lot of surface issues, a lot of misprints.
Yeah.
I think in general it's a lot harder to gem on Prism this year.
Mm.
And like you also a lot of people, like when they look at cards they just look at the front, but it's actually easier to tell if a card is OC from the back,
Oh.
right? Like your front might be perfect but the back is like not aligned, so you get a lot of those, especially this year. It's just my experience is compared to Prism last year, it's a lot. Yeah, the quality of prints is not as high. I mean, they weren't high to begin with last year. There was a lot of pretty bad QC issues last year, but particularly this year with Prism, it's not that great.
Yeah.
I haven't personally opened the box of Select yet, so I don't know. So we'll see. I mean, like the other sets that have released this year, with the exception of clearly Donruss, because clearly Donruss even last year was not the best.
Yeah.
A lot of QC issues. But I think the prints have been kind of like okay, right? Like printing quality. But obviously with sets that are thicker cards generally just don't come out the pack very well. They have pretty damaged edges. Sometimes the corner is not great.
Yeah.
But that's kind of normal with like thicker cards, right? And that's not only a Panini thing, that applies to like even stuff printed by Tops or Upper Deck from like other sports, because I also rip non-basketball stuff. But like, as to your question, is Prism king? Like, I think definitely from a resale perspective, Prism is king.
Okay.
But if you ask me, I'm a very, very big fan of Select.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just Select this year is a little different, right? Like, it's rumored to have a retail component this year.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm pretty sure in like 1 or 2 weeks time we're probably gonna know that there's actually going to be a retail component of Prism, because they did it for football this year, they did it for baseball this year. There's no reason why Panini would not do it for basketball. One of the things I really like about Select, at least in the previous years, it's a hobby only product, right? There are basically only 3 formats of Select, which is FOTL, FOTL Hobby, and you have Hybrid. What makes Select nice is that, number one, obviously it's called Select, right? So it's generally only sold through hobby stores, your LCS, or you can't really get it by walking into a Target or a Walmart.
Yeah.
Which makes basically the pop counts of the cards a lot thinner compared to Prism, right?
Right.
This year, it's rumored to have a retail component. You could, like, obviously that in general brings up the pop counts of cards, right? But you can view it as both good and bad, right? The good thing about it is, well, the bad thing about it is obviously, as I mentioned, pop counts will generally be a lot higher because there's a lot of retail. Like people can't afford to buy $1,000 box of hobby, right, and rip themselves. Like generally, a good chunk of people won't be that, you know, aggressive to rip their own hobby box, but
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to, you know, buy a whatever 50, 60, $70 blaster of select and rip and hopefully pull a court side or something.
Right.
um the bad thing is, again, your universe of select cards is obviously going to grow, right, because it's a lot more accessible to a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's a bad thing. And so obviously the scarcity factor of your graded cards or your court sides or whatever parallels or inserts you want to go after is a lot more. The good side to it though, the way I see it is a lot of people don't know about Select, right? They know Prizm. Right.
Yeah.
The good thing about putting a retail component into Select is it gives Select a lot more visibility.
Yeah.
Right. It's a lot more. The set is a lot more on top of people's minds. And so if you have been a Select collector for the past, 3, 4, 5. Select started, I believe, in 2013. The first Select set, or 2012. I can't remember. I think it was the Giannis year, so 2013, 2012 or 2013. I can't really remember. And so if you're a collector between the time Select started up until 1920, and coming into this year to 2021, and assuming that Select comes out with a retail component, people are the set itself is going to be on top of people's minds, right? As may not be specifically an equivalent of Prizm, but a lot more people will know about Select and how.
Right.
I particularly like the style of the cards, right? It's 3 levels of base cards,
I
right?
agree.
And then you have a court side, which to me is one of the most beautifully styled cards you can ever get. And so, which also is, very low pop count, right? And so, people that are going to be exposed to Select this year a little bit like, maybe I should start checking out Select from the past couple of years. And then obviously it may or may not affect card prices if people start buying up and they really like Select. So it's kind of like there's both a good and a bad side to Select having a retail component.
Thank you so much for watching. If you dig that video, please don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel. And last but not least, don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any video.